Okay, hi guys, welcome to the third installment to the Unity3D workshop series hosted by Educational Technology. So this is the last part of the session, and we're just going to extend the game a little bit further. So at the end of last time, we'd added in, the big thing we added in was the enemies and like the camera controller. So now if we hit play, then should get some stuff happening. So we messed around with the lighting a little bit at the workshop, which I didn't really cover in the last video, but I don't think we're gonna do anything with that today, so you don't really need to worry about that. But you can see there's the little cubes following me, and if they touch me, my score goes to 0. I did a little bit of cleaning up. So if you went to the workshop, things might look a little different. So instead of the enemies being purple, I made them black. I made the score font a tiny bit bigger. It's pretty much all just like things you should be able to do that are just like little aesthetic things. But today we're going to add some animation to the platform so that they like move around and do interesting things, and put a skybox on the scene and put a particle system underneath the platform to give a kind of cool look and feel to it. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing to do is add a skybox, and a skybox is a series of textures that wraps around the outside of the world to form a sort of like horizon. So right now there's like a default skybox in this scene. That gives you this kind of like mist in the background and like a blue sky. But we're going to change that. And this is also going to teach you how to download stuff from the asset store, which is super easy. You just have to click on the asset store. If it's not up, you can find it in one of these menus, and it'll bring up the window. And then in the search, just type in Skybox and hit enter. And lots of times assets will cost money, so you can just click the free only tag to filter for free things. And you can download and try out any of these. I'm just going to download this one. So I click import and import again. You can choose not to import some things in a package by like clicking their checkboxes, but we're just going to import this. And Unity can take some time, especially when it's importing textures. I don't know why it takes so long. All right, so now that that's in our scene, and there should be, it added in a folder to our project view, so you can go inside, check out the textures. But to apply this to the scene, you need to click on Window, open the lighting window, and where it says Skybox and it has the default Skybox selected, click the little target and choose Purple Nebula. And so now that is like our Skybox, and you can see it's kind of everywhere. So now if we hit play, looks like this. It's super dark. So because our ambient lighting, we have the ambient lighting coming from the skybox, so changing it to a really dark skybox kind of dims the lighting. So what we might do is we have a directional light that we disabled in the workshop, so we could just re-enable that. That'll give us some more light. Okay, so next up is some animation. And animation, I didn't know this for a long time. I didn't know you could actually animate things in Unity. So a lot of times it might be more conventional to do animation in external programs like Maya or Blender and then import them in and put them in objects. But Unity has like a built-in animator. And it's really good for animating simple, like just moving objects around and stuff, not so much like creating animations for characters or things like that. But for our purposes, it's going to suit us just fine. So I'm going to pick one of these platforms, and it's going to move back and forth across some distance to create some challenging gameplay for this platforming game. I'm just going to go ahead and pick this one. And so I have this one selected. I can go up to Window and Animation, and then that will bring up an animation window. I'm going to click and drag this around in my view like that so I can see the scene and the animator expanded a little. And so you should, once you have the cube selected, it'll say the name, platform 2, and it'll say create an animator and an animation clip. Because to do animations in Unity, the object that's being animated needs an animator controller as well as animation clips to use. So the controller kind of like switches the object between different animations depending on like different function or different variables and things. But really, each of these objects is just going to have one animation on them, so we don't really need to worry about that too much. But you can just go ahead and click create, and it'll prompt you for a name for the animation. So I'm just going to say like platform, can't spell, move, save that. So now it's created a animation controller for platform 2 and a animation clip. So with the clip selected in your animation window, what you can do is select the guy in the scene and then hit the record button, and then you can just tap on one of the, or move it around a tiny bit in the scene, and wherever you release, it will record that position as the position it should be at like 0 seconds. And then if you click on the little time bar and drag, you can change where at what time you are in the animation. So I'm going to drag this over to, let's see, you can zoom out just by using like gesture controls, or the middle wheel should work on a mouse. I'm going to zoom out and bring this over to like 2 seconds. And then I'm going to drag it over here. So now at 2 seconds, it'll come over here, and you can see it's moving across in between these 2 points. And so if I hit play, it'll preview the animation. So this is a little bit awkward because it gets to the end and then it just wraps around. It's looping, so it'll move to the end and then jump around to the beginning. So to remedy that, we need to copy its original location and put it further, or put it like a second after this end spot. So to do that, you should just be able to double click on your two key values here, and that will give you this is the nightmare. That will give you two copies of that, and then you can. It's a little fiddly. You sometimes have to like click off and then click them to select them, but you should be able to select them, and then you can drag them. Oh, gosh, darn it! All right, let me drag it so that I won't accidentally select all 4. So then you drag these over to like here. Boom. Now if I hit play, it'll go out and it'll come back, and it'll go out and it'll come back. So that's all we need to do for that animation. And it should, the animation controller should already be set up to like loop this when you play. So if you go ahead and hit play now, it's moving back and forth. All right, so that's animation just messing with the transform of the object. Now I'm going to do another animation on a different platform. I think this platform will do, where I mess with the scale. So go through the same process. I'm going to call this scale platform. So now I've got record selected, and I'm going to switch my tool to the scale tool, and I'm just going to click. That's not right. There we go. I'll just make that value the start value, and then I'll switch over to, I'm going to go to this, it's going to take 2 seconds to shrink all the way. So then I can, boom, shrink it in, and I've got that point down. So now if I hit play, it just shrinks. So now I zoom in, select these 2 key values, double click. That should have created a copy. Let me double click again. There we go. Maybe you have to double click on the top one. I'm a little bit new to animating inside Unity, so it's a little clunky. And then, so the midpoint was at 2 seconds, and I want the scale down and scale up to be the same. So I'm going to go to 4 seconds and bring, let me undo that. All right, come back over here, select these. There we go, drag them out. Zoom out. And that's about 4 seconds probably. So now that animation should be set up. So it'll come in and then go back out. All right, sweet. So now I can get rid of the animation window. I don't really need that anymore. Now when I hit play, they're both doing their animations. And if I jump here, and then I'll fall off because it's decreasing in scale. So that just makes it a little bit more difficult. Okay, so with those two animations done, I guess actually let me show you the animation controller really quickly. So if you select one of those two platforms you just animated, and then in the inspector pane, there should be an animation or an animator component, and if you double click on that, it will bring you to this animation state machine view. Basically, all you need to know is upon entry, it'll make the transition to this this state called scale platform, and scale platform has this animation clip attached to it, and it also has loop time. Like if you double click on it, it'll take you to the animation which we just made, and it has loop time applied, so it loops forever in the game and it never leaves this state. So if you had other animations, you could create other states and like make transitions between states. So if you have a character that needs to like run, jump, and do all sorts of other things, that's what you do. All right, so the last thing is, it definitely looks kind of weird, just this grid floating in space. So beneath the grid, we're going to create a particle system that makes it have this weird like future-y kind of effect, so visual effect. So I'm going to create a empty game object and call it, I'll just call it weird mist, and set the position to 0, 0, 0, and then drag it underneath the ground. Then add a component to it called particle system. Boom. And now if you drag your view down, you should see a particle system beneath. So we're going to change, there's a ton of values on particle systems that you can change, and we're just going to change a few. It's really something you just play around with. The first thing is the shape. I'm going to change it to a box, and then I'm going to increase the box X and Y a little bit, and the box Z. So the particles are all emitted from this box, and I want the box to be pretty much the size of, or like a square, but that's bigger than the ground itself, so it extends past the ground. So I'm going to move this back a little bit and increase the X even more, increase the Z a little bit. There we go. And so there's very few particles in this system right now. Right now we have the max particle set to 1,000, but it's only ever reaching 50. So to change this, I'm just going to increase the rate at which it emits to like 500. Now it's maxing out at 1,000, so we can change this. Just change it to 20,000, because why not? And so now we're only maxing out at, 20,000. There we go. But we're only maxing out at 2,500, so you can increase the rate to something, just say 2,000 to make it look insane. You also want to have the pre-warm thing checked so that it when you hit play, it'll already look like this instead of start to emit, and then so there'll be like this weird couple seconds where there's nothing over here, but particles are starting to be emitted. All right. So with that said, this doesn't quite look like a square, so I'm going to bring it in a little bit. There we go. Also, I think the particles are moving a little bit fast, so it's kind of nauseating. So I'm just going to decrease the start speed to 1. Yeah, let's say 1. So now I need to increase the box size because they aren't making it to the other side of the ground, and I'm not adjusting the right values. There we go. All right, so now I'm just going to move the game object over like so. Cool. So now if I hit play, I get this weird like blossomy effect underneath. And I'm going to change the way it looks. If you click on the renderer, this is how you control what the particles actually look like. And I'm just going to change the default particle to ground. So now that just puts these like cubes underneath of it. And I'm also going to increase the size again, because I don't want the camera to see past it. So shape, increase this, no, not that. Increase it in the Y or Z. Maybe increase it in the X a little bit more. Maybe in the Z a little bit more. So now if I hit play, I got this like retro, or not retro, like weird kind of sci-fi thing underneath. These panels are moving. And yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to accomplish. Didn't quite make it to level changing. Maybe we could do that, add something in the future to do that. But you've got kind of the basics of a game here now. So yeah, that's it for the Unity 3D session. If you want to learn more about Unity, I encourage you to look up either like the Unity documentation. You can go, the college has Atomic Learning, which you can sign into and watch videos on. You can just watch YouTube videos, whatever you need to do to like pique your interest in it and just keep playing around with all the tools Unity has. It's a ton of fun. So yeah, thanks for watching.